So I started becoming very interested in space and the way people act in it quite a few years ago, about 1997. So I started thinking of space as a metaphor for the web, what implications that gave us, and I looked at many different groups using space, some quite odd groups like gangs, hooligans, hobos, because they had esoteric readings of space, and that I found quite interesting. And I was interested in the writings on space and the secret readings that can be afforded by them. Now I started actually becoming more interested in space per se, and how you navigate that, and how you could navigate that in terms of as a virtual world.
If I want to steal a color television, what I can do is go to a, well, you know, now that MasterCard has a PayPass system, so I can basically go with something like this RFID Guardian. I can basically pick out the color TV that I want, go to the cash register and say, I would like to pay for this. So basically now the RFID reader sends the query to this device that I have. Now this has a Bluetooth interface, so this now will connect to my GSM. Now I have a friend who also happens to be a bad guy who is in a crowded subway in Beijing. Why not, you know? And now he also has one of these things. So now his GSM is going to send this signal back to the Bluetooth chip, which then is going to act like an RFID reader, and is going to query the card in the wallet of somebody that he's standing right next to. The credit card responds. Once again, it gets received here, goes to my phone, my GSM, gets sent back over the GSM network, via the GSM, back to this, back to the cash register, and then the clerk says, thank you, enjoy your television.
Part of the Disciplinary Computer Initiative to digitize, technologize this experience. But we realized the most important part of the system had to be person. And it was interesting in the presentations this morning. I like the reference to the invention of the thermostat, thermometer. I think that anybody who is a mother with children will know that after a while you don't need a thermometer, because all you have to do is put your finger on the neck and you know whether they've got a temperature or not. Also the discussion earlier about doctors staring at their computers and not looking at you. It was not so long ago that doctors could actually smell your breath to tell whether you had particular illnesses. There were doctors that were expert in knowing and recognizing illnesses through smell. That's all being lost because we're replacing the human from the system with the technology. And we were trying to see, can we actually create the two together?
And our nature today is technology. You know, the TVs, the laptops that are all around us. Instead of looking at them as products, I think we should look at them as a process that needs our input, making everybody a hacker, everybody a designer. And just to share some small research projects I'm doing now. I'm doing like 11 projects, but these are just some small things. There's a glass box I have in my room with the 2 webcams and a bunch of fruit flies. So these flies are just, you know, moving around, and these cameras are tracking them and putting their data online inside the Space Invaders kind of environment. So you can play, all these aliens are controlled by real fruit flies, and you can, you know, shoot them and they shoot you, etc., etc. It's just a way of doing research of how, what if you connect something as simple as a fruit fly to the internet and see how people interact with it, and you know, where we can go beyond that.
And then we have examples of this, you know, so that if this Internet of Things is already here, there's a lot of thought about, like, yeah, theft being a thing of the past, which I don't get how you can come up with this idea at all. Because we're people, we'll still steal from each other, people will still lie, maybe they'll lie less in the future, I'm not sure. But things like, yeah, running out of stock or posts not getting lost, obviously they've never encountered a postal strike. So, doesn't matter how efficient they go through the warehouse, if there's not people to write the software or to drive the truck or to fly the plane or to move that box from one shelf to another, none of it really matters. And so we have examples like, yeah, like, I'm looking at the Internet of Things as a design tool. So like, if you walk down the hallway in some places, or in front of homes, that the lights go on and off, or maybe in the future the heater will turn on and off automatically. But can it be more than me about just being lazy? I don't know. Can things be about fun? Can it be about family? Can it be about really social human issues? Can it be about stuff that we can't break, or we hopefully won't want to break?
We had a range of these kind of sensors spread around the town, and these sensors are nitrogen dioxide and decibel sensors. So we had 8 of these spread around the town. But they were also voting stations, and every day there was a different question that allowed people to vote on particular issues. And these things are displayed on these kind of big balloons, and they're discussed. So here are the kind of small sensors that are in balloons, and at night people wandering around with them, starting to map the local town. Here's some of the drawings from it. So here's the kind of big balloon, which is giving you real-time readout from the kind of sensor network that's around this town. And this is a very small town. There's about 10,000 people living there. And the key issue about this town is that it's supposed to double in the next 10 years. And local people are very worried about the increase of pollution in terms of noise and in terms of nitrogen dioxide. The real choice that has to be made, is it going to be a kind of a railway town, or is it going to be a car town?
So RFID tags, we skip that, but privacy is a bit important to talk a little bit about, because there's different ways that you look at privacy. One of them is the Big Brother approach. This is sort of a horrible kind of metaphor, because it assumes that you don't trust your government. Now, I don't know how the situation is in Belgium, but in the Netherlands we still sort of trust our government. And especially for people that work in government, they trust the government, so this metaphor does not stick, so they don't see the problem. Sweet sister, little sister, another way to approach privacy, and now governments are not the problem, now it's businesses supporting you. Well, I mean, business supporting you, well, that seems like privacy is not so a big problem either. I mean, these businesses do give you, let's say, offers and stuff like that. The real problem, I think, is in the sort of profiling of you, and the fact that you are being judged on and acted upon based on those profiles. And I think the story, the book of Kafka, The Trial, really captures it. If you want to, get a good view of what the real threat of privacy is, read that book.
So I won't go into the details, but well, bottom line is that we managed to do this. We don't claim that the measurements are as accurate as professional or even semi-professional sound metering equipment, but we do make the claim that what we have is accurate enough to give you the number. It's about, on average, the fault is around 2.5 dB. Noise measuring experts will not be satisfied with this, but we make the claim that this data is accurate enough to have relative information, to be able to compare ambiances and soundscapes between people, between streets, between areas of town. It's accurate enough to do that, to make the difference between, say, 5 or maybe 10 categories of average sound level in a particular area or in somebody's life. So it should be accurate enough for that.
Looking at this graphic that's on the Facebook page that probably all of you know is, there are these connections there, but I think that's not realistic at all. Because if you look at this is from last year, the top social media networks, you see that there's so many of them, they're all actually dispersed. So the whole global village idea is not quite as connected as we all might think. So I thought, well, let's see if I can do something about it. Let's see if I can somehow, produce something where people are more, the intention is more to break that pattern, to try really to meet people you've never met before, or try to establish those connections. And I tried to find a way to, what could be the structure of that, how to achieve that. And one example that all of you know is probably the 6 degrees in Curry Lake and the idea that we're all connected.
This is an experience electrica, the structure we've been building, working with and developing quite large amounts of technology on an independent manner, which allows us to deal with physical interaction in a manner that was not possible before. I think that has been presented previously. We're not on the hacking side, we have not this kind of knowledge, but still as artists, we are coming to a time where we can appropriate and build our own technology, which is something that we are using.